On this episode of the Doctors Who podcast, we wonder, does Nynaeve want the One Power? Does she not want the One Power? Maybe she wants it. Who knows?
Hello and welcome to the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
Today we're covering chapter 28. We're popping back to a Nynaeve POV chapter, so why don't we jump in and start with Chip?
This was just kind of a transitional chapter for me. So it was almost like hey, let's go check in and see what's happening with Nynaeve, Moraine, and Lan. So it didn't really serve much more than that, other than to let us know that Moraine can track each of the boys because of the coins that they had, and she knows that two of the boys no longer have the coin that she gave them, but one still does, and that's who they're going to go after. And then there was a lot of that kind of back and forth between Moraine and Nynaeve, where Nynaeve's asking questions and Moraine's being elusive with answers, and Nynaeve seems like she's getting a little frustrated being treated like a child, but she's also one that treats everyone else around her like children, so come about's fair play, that kind of stuff. But anyway, Brian?
Oh, I would agree. I felt like this was a lull in the action before our next sections, but I kind of felt like this was a reckoning, like a growing moment for Nynaeve, because she still is missing that sort of identity. Is she supposed to be wielding the one power? Is she not? She's really like, I think, just kind of bitter with herself because she can't make up her mind. And I think that kind of showed throughout her interactions with the other characters. But it was really a good chapter in the sense that it showed internal strife and conflict with herself. So I take it for what it is, but it was pretty much a transitional chapter for me too.
So for me, this did a couple of things. It does kind of cement that, almost like that rivalry, or this perceived competition between these two women, right? And how like Lan, for the most part, is just like, nope. And what it also does is it gives a little bit of insight into some of the things Moraine can do with one power. So even though Rand and Matt no longer have their coins, she knows that they are in the same inn that they were in previously. So that, to me, that's kind of cool. It's like, okay, well, they lost the coins, but she can still, like, there's still like some residual one powery goodness around them or something like that, right? And then it does kind of let you know that everybody's kind of, even though they're separated, they're still roughly in the same area and moving toward the same place. So those are, I think, my takeaways. All right. So, one of the things that, and this is knowing how the series ends, one of the things that is interesting is to go back to the beginning, kind of just like see these relationships and these people interacting kind of like in the infancy of their friendship and camaraderie, right? So just seeing Nynaeve really just pushing against Moraine, and Moraine just being this impassable force is kind of fun for me. But
I also thought it was interesting with like coming to grips with everything too. All of her life she had kind of heard that if the Aes Sedai existed, they were evil, and she should have nothing to do with people who wield the one power. And you can almost feel like she wants to, but her new self wants to, but her old self doesn't. I get a lot of like like broadening of the horizons here. She's really finally realizing that, oh, hey, I actually have a talent. I should do something with it. No, I must go back and live the old way. I must, not go down this path. So it's just there's so much headbutting that it's outwardly exposed when she has her interactions with Lan. Like Lan's like not saying anything, and then she's like, "I'm just so frustrated." Like he didn't say anything.
Well,
I don't know.
and you touched on something, right? She has this strong sense of duty, and she has this loyalty to the two rivers, and she's like, I left. I'm their wisdom, and I left. But imagine what I could do if I had training in the one power. Imagine what kind of a wisdom I could be. So she does have that sense of duty that almost compels her to try to find her way back.
And it almost reminds me of just people that have been groomed for a certain role, or that their families they're expected to go to college and become a doctor, or something along that line. Because I think she was basically groomed her whole life to become wisdom, and then all of a sudden, these things happen in the Two Rivers. She leaves the Two Rivers, and all of a sudden, like Brian said, her horizons are open. Her eyes are open, and horizons are expanded, and she's like, "There's so much more out here that I really didn't know about that." Might be interesting to follow this path too. So.
My 7-year-old is in violin lessons, and I promise I'm going to tie this back to what you said. And it's a group lesson, so it's him and I think 2 or 3 other kids. And one of them, I can tell their parents are like probably professional violinists, just because of like the equipment she has, and like every time she's playing something for the group, like the parent is right there like, no, she's going to start over, now do it this way. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just like they've just, it drives me crazy. But it's kind of that same thing, right, where like from this young age, you have somebody who's just kind of molded to do something and to be good at this one thing, and maybe not be aware of what other opportunities are out there. So.
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you I'd bring it back. Thanks.
Good job.
Yeah. So, and also coming from a small town, like I can relate when they are like at the Whitebridge, and Nynaeve is like trying not to act like this gaping country girl. I thought that was I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, going into a city and you're just like, holy.
Oh, those
crap.
are big buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
We get another sense in here too, just of how much of a badass Lan is when because they're coming in on the heels of Thom fighting the Myrdraal, and there's a lot of damage, and the militia's kind of on alert. And when they're in the inn where the boys and Thom had been before, and the local militia basically comes up and starts kind of pushing them to be on their way, and kind of sizes up Lan and decides, no, I'm not gonna take this one on, and kind of backs away.
Yep. Now, you mentioned Thom, and so when I read through this a couple days ago, I didn't actually see Thom list, like they never actually said what happened to him, which that's still kind of the frustrating thing for me as a first-time reader. It's like, I've been wanting to know the conclusion of that story for a little while now, and we're still no closer to knowing, did he end up defeating the half man? Was he vanquished? Was he able to escape? Like, we don't know yet. So I was a little bummed out at the end of this chapter that we didn't find out, but I'm hoping we do soon.
If I remember correctly, Jordan puts a few of these threads out there on different plot lines where it's like he'll start something, and then you may not pick it up for quite a while, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So I was usually when I prep to post these videos online, I go and I I'll just like read through like the chapter summary on Tar Valon or one of those sites that has like a wiki on it. And
Yeah.
there was something in chapter 28 that said, there were rumors of a gleeman that got on a boat as it like cut its lines and escaped. And I don't remember reading that.
I don't either, but
So I just thought that was interesting. I didn't have time to go back and reread.
I don't remember reading that. I remember, don't they say something about Bail Doman's boat was attacked but escaped downriver?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
But I
remember.
don't think they never specifically said Thom. Now, granted, Jordan is really good at dropping breadcrumbs, so it's entirely possible he threw something in there, and to the untrained eye that I have, I missed it. But anyway, I'm still hoping for a little bit more of a resolute finish.
How about a resolute desk?
Oh, I could go for one of those too.
Sweet. We'll call Nick Cage. We'll get that.
Is there only one of those?
Jeez. I think weren't there two of those. There was like one in the Smithsonian and one. I can't remember.
I forget because they made them out of an old ship, didn't they?
I think so.
I forget which ship it was, but anyway.
Charlotte.
But that's a story for another time.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I really kind of like how this chapter ends. With they're in the very same inn. Moraine knows at least two of them are alive, and like I said when I was kind of giving my rundown, it's like you get the sense that everybody is kind of in the same place, but they're still separated. So I think it creates some. I'm not sure what the right word is. Something for the reader where you're like, oh, they're so close, but they're so far. Game of Thrones, the TV series, did that quite a bit as well, where like people were traveling trying to find each other, and they just went right by each other and didn't even realize it. Things like that. So.
And in a sitcom, it would have been funny,
right?
But,
Yeah.
all the near misses.
But yeah, this was overall not a lot happened in this chapter. It kind of reinforced some things with Nynaeve and Moraine, and I think it just kind of is a chapter that kind of gets people to certain places for the plot to advance. That was the impression I got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there were a few nuggets in there. So one of the lines that I highlighted from Moraine when she's talking to Nynaeve says, part of the training that you'll receive in Tar Valon wisdom will teach you to control your temper. You can do nothing with the one power when emotion rules your mind. So there's some of these tidbits in there that that Nynaeve's highly volatile and emotional. She might not be outwardly emotional, but she internalizes a lot, and she'll lash out at different people and characters along the way. But that's something too. It's another seed that Jordan's planting, that there are going to be barriers to her learning how to channel the one power, and this is a big one.
I actually got some flashbacks to. I apologize for going here. The Phantom Menace. Like it feels a little bit like, she's going to see the council at Coruscant. I mean, Tar Valon. So, like it, but I just couldn't help but notice that line in particular just made me think, oh, this sounds a little bit like, like you cannot love if you're in the Jedi but like you have to control your emotions. So it just evoked that thought of the Horse.
Jedi training. Yeah.
Okay. Well, next time we are covering chapters 29 and 30. They are Perrin-centric chapters, Perrin and Egwene, so we get to find out what they're up to, because when we left them last time, Baal-Zaman appeared in Perrin's dream. Elias, the wolves, and the leader of the Tinkers knew something was up, and they left in quite a hurry, so it'll be good to catch up with them and see what's going on there. In the meantime, if you are perusing our description, you might notice that we have a link to Patreon. That's something that we've just recently launched, and patrons who generously donate some of their hard-earned money to help support our channel will get some perks, some physical swag, so like some stickers and things like that, and some other cool things if you're very generous with your money, and also a lot of just behind-the-scenes content. So we have conversations before we record episodes. We have some other in-depth conversations if we don't have time to cover things in the main episodes. So that's all something you can check out at the link in the description. Again, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Please use the subscribe button and the notification bell so that when we post new content, you are notified. Thank you for watching. Please leave us a comment and let us know what you thought, and we will see you next time. Brian, you're up. That's you.
Oh, that's me. Alonzi.